So this is our 2019 Entegra Quest RV, Class C. So first thing, diesel only. Here's fuel. The key has a little pop out to start. So in here, just turn it on. So parking brake is down here. You gotta pull up. Sometimes it'll still be down, but it's engaged, so you just gotta pull it up, make sure it's up, and you can put it down. So we have a backup camera system. We've got tire pressure monitoring system and CarPlay stereo. So this will stay on even if the unit's off, so you can turn the power button here, turn it off and on. Rear view camera, you can adjust the camera up and down just by sliding on the screen. If it actually gets stuck in a different view, you can hold this button down at the bottom to turn it off and reset it. Just got to keep holding it down and it'll reset. Or if the camera's flipped and upside down, you can unplug the power button and then plug it back in, and that'll usually fix it. If you swipe through, it'll show the front camera, both cameras, and then back camera, so you can get back to the back camera. There's also a separate backup camera on this system, so if you're in reverse, this camera will come on. It's different than the rear view camera, so you can see that one's better for backing up and parking. You can really see the gate and it's right up against it. So gear shifter, tire pressure monitoring system should all be set up. It'll come on while driving. It'll tell the temperature of the tires and how much pressure is in each of them, and it'll flip through to check each tire randomly. If it starts alarming just because of maybe like a cold day and the tire pressure is low because it's cold, you can just hit this button and silence it, but just make sure, see there it came on, 52 degrees, 64 psi. Sometimes if it gets a little low, around 60 psi, it'll start alarming, so it can do that on a really cold day. Got charging here for phone holder here, CarPlay. So CarPlay is, you hit the center button and then it'll go to setup and then connections and device list. That's how to get to that. And then CarPlay is up here. You got Pandora, everything, your phone. So, and then you can go back to home with this button. There are other cameras. There is a left and right camera here, so you can see these, but the mirrors work really well too. But there's rear, left, right, and then home screen. So starting on the outside, this is the generator in here. Shouldn't have to go in here, but if oil's needed to be added, you can add it here. It takes 10W30. Shouldn't need to be added unless it's a really long trip. Second compartment has an outdoor rug, picnic table cover, some extra power connectors, so regular 110 volt, a 50 amp connector, and then it comes with a 30 amp connector usually hooked up to the power cord. These are leveling blocks. If you need to level some tires, it's some blocks you can put together and just drive up on them to level. And there's also an extra hose in here for fresh water. There's also a regulator for pressure, so this should be used. The pressure regulator should be used with either hose. Some campgrounds have really high water pressure and it can blow out some of the inner tubes, so we provide the pressure regulator. So just add that to whatever hose you're using. We do have quick hose connects. So here's the water system on the third one down. So when you get to a campground and you want to set up your water, you hook this to the campground water faucet and it'll check and regulate the pressure. Then you come over and just plug this in. So you push down and slide that in. So quick connect. There's another water hose here for fresh water. Also has a quick connect on it. So these just come out, you just slide it back. Very easy. So there's a pump here. So water pump, there's a light, water pump power, outdoor shower here. Now, usually when you're at a campground, you would put this on city fixtures, which is 2 and 6. So 2 and 6, and then you can turn off the water pump power because this will have pressure and that will pressurize the system inside the unit. When you're driving or not hooked up to the water, you put it in normal, which is 3 and 5. So 3 and 5, and then turn on the pump. So that'll give you power, or sorry, that'll give you water out of the tank, which is on board, which is around 48 gallons, I believe. So that will be self-sustained water that's on board, so that's normal, 3 and 5. So you can use, shower, everything till you run that out. If you're filling up the onboard water, that would be city fill tank, so 1 and 6. So that would be if you're filling up the tank and you don't need the pump on because the tank's filling with the pressure from this hose. So normally the only thing you'll need is 3 and 5, which is normal, so 3, 5, and then pumps on, and that'll be your internal water supply. Then if you're hooked up at the campground, you want to use the pressurized campground water through this. So this would be city fixtures, so 2 and 6, and then turn off the pump. So that should be all that you really need to use, unless you're filling up the onboard tank, which would be city fill tank, and you'll hear it filling. And if it fills up to the top, it'll overflow and start running out the back, but you usually don't have to fill it all the way up. So at the last door on the driver's side of the RV is where the sewage hose is stored. So if you're going to hook up at an RV site to empty the tank, it's usually stored in a black bag here. This is also where the DEF fluid is. We've got some hook connectors or wrenches. If it gets stuck, you can use these to open it. And then there's some gloves back here. So it comes with the short hose hooked up. If you need a longer hose, there's one in here. So this is it attaches to that one, it makes it longer. And then the connector here is where the dump goes. So you first hook this up and run to your sewage connector. Some will have screw-ins, there's different types, some just sit in it, this one just sits in it. Then you're going to go over to the passenger side, and you've got your black water holding tank on the right and your gray water on the left. This is toilet water, this is the sink and the shower. So first you pull this one, dump all the black water, let that completely empty, and just let it run for a while. This one's already empty, so I'm just showing. So then you would close this one, and then you flush it with the gray water tank. You open that one, let everything flush out. This is all your sour and sink water and soapy, shower water. This will flush everything and clean out the hose too. So once that's done, you just close this. Make sure those are closed good. Then you can come back over here, and if you're done, you can unhook your hoses and put them back in storage and recap this. And that's it. If you're at a campground, you just leave this hooked. You could leave it open, or you could just dump at the end of the trip, or when your tanks start filling up, then you can dump it. It's good to keep some gray water to flush everything and clean it out before you put it up. Propane system or propane tank. And then this one is also just a little extra storage here. So here's the propane tank. Right now it's full, so turn it on with this. That turns the gas on to the unit. Should already be on when you get it. And then outdoor speakers. So this is the key for the inside lock, and this bigger key is for the deadbolt. So here on the inside, this is the main control panel. So we've got the main power switch, which is usually always left on. This doesn't need to be turned off unless the unit's going to be not used for a while. If it's plugged in, you can just leave this main on. The main switch for lights is right here. That'll turn on all the inside lights. So we've got inside and outside speaker. If you notice the radio is playing and it's very quiet on the inside while you're driving, it's probably because the outside speaker was left on. So make sure you turn out the inside speaker. We have the power step turn off and on, that's for this. The awning light for out here. And then the awning. So very important on this awning to make sure that it is not left out if it's windy or in weather. So these get damaged really easily by wind, and make sure it's also put in before you drive. So we can extend it out. It's a little slow, but it'll come all the way out. If it gets hung up coming out, just give it a little bit of a pull, but it'll come all the way out. So once that's fully extracted, so it's kind of slow, I'm not going to go all the way out. So then just, if it gets windy, make sure it gets put back in or retract it. So again, just be careful with the awnings because they're expensive to be replaced. That's what the big tube's for there, replacement one. So we don't want to do that. So when you're parked and leveled, so there is a automatic sort of like a leveler. So this part here, you turn this on and extend it, and that'll put down it's a little thing to keep it stable. So that'll go down. Just make sure that is back up before you start driving. So I'll let that go down. So the next important thing is a control center here. So this shows your battery tank or your battery banks, how full they are, your fresh water, your black water, and gray water. These are both empty right now. It shows 2 bars because we're sitting on a little hill, so but that's empty. This is how to extend and retract the slide out. This is the start stop for the generator. So if you need to use the generator, you just hold this down to start. You'll hear it crank up. There it goes. After a few seconds, the microwave power will come on, and then you've got full 120 volt running off of the generator. You also need to turn on the inverter to run the plugs. Just hold that down, that'll pop on. So that powers from 12 volt to 120 volt on all your electrical outlets. So once you're done using the generator, then you just hold this down to stop it. That'll also run your air conditioning system too if you're not plugged in. So right now we're plugged up to the outlet power outside, so we can leave the inverter on. Now this is the switch for the water pump for fresh water. This is tank heaters for the black and the gray water heaters. Shouldn't have to use this unless it's freezing outside. This keeps the black and gray water tanks from actually freezing, so it's really not used that often. This is your water heater for your hot water in the unit. So if you're plugged in at a campground, you want to just use electric. That'll heat up. If you're not plugged in, you can use the gas, and that'll heat up the hot water too. So you can't actually use both at the same time. You want to get water hot really quick, but best to save your natural gas if you're not using it. Just heat it on electric. Another thing is if you're running on battery power, make sure if you're going to be on battery for a while that the inverter is off. The inverter will use a good bit of battery life, so if you're not plugged in, probably should turn this off. If you're driving, cars are running, you can leave it on, so the battery's charged while the car's running. But if you're boondocking and you're going to be parked for a long time camping, so you're camping without electrical power, just running on generator and things, you should probably turn it off after. It'll last a few hours, but still best to conserve battery by turning that off. But if you're plugged in using it other times, you can just leave it on. So now on the inside, here's your kitchen, lights under here, sink, coffee maker, gas stove. Just make sure this is not put down if this is hot, because the glass can break. Microwave, cooking utensils, silverware. We've got some cleaning supplies, paper towels. Up here, usually keep some extra coffee pods and kitchen essentials, paper plates and bowls. The receiver for the TV, remote control, and the Starlink router is up here too. So here's a refrigerator. You hold this to hold it down to turn it on. Once it's on, A is for auto. That's for plug power, battery, and this is for natural gas. Usually we'll leave it on auto. It'll switch between plug power and natural gas to cool. This is the cooling speed. You've got a freezer and refrigerator. So here's the bathroom. Got your sink, hand soaps, toilet, shower. Just prime the toilet before using. Push it halfway down to prime it, all the way down to flush. We've got special RV toilet paper. Include some extra in here. If you do empty the septic system, you just add an ounce of this to the toilet, flush it down, keeps everything smelling good. You can put a little bit down the sink too to keep the gray water okay. There's also a fan in here. So here's the remote for the TV. I've got an antenna over here to adjust. There's also Starlink up here, which is additional, but you can request a password for that. So I'm going to go ahead and extend the slide. Be sure nothing's back here to get caught or around here. This all looks good, so we're going to extend it. And we'll just hold that extend button down. Keep an eye on everything. Also make sure outside that there's nothing that's the slide's gonna run into, like a tree or something. So it's best to have somebody outside watching. If it's close, you can use the walkie-talkies, communicate, you can yell, and they should be able to hear you inside also. But the walkie-talkies work well. So if it sounds like it's hanging up, just make sure you stop and check, but make sure nothing's behind these walls. And once it gets fully extended, you'll kind of tell that it's all the way out. It'll start slowing down. There it goes. You can even see this bends a little. Once it hits, it's fully out. And then you can fold your bed and everything out. So say you flip the breaker and your power goes out for the coffee maker and the microwave. This is where the fuse box is. So you can open this. This is usually for the GFIC, which is the kitchen outlets. It'll usually be tripped, and all you got to do is push it over and reset it. So here's the other breakers for other components. These usually won't trip. It's mostly this kitchen one because it's a GFIC, and if you're using a coffee maker and something's plugged in, then it's very likely you can trip that 15 amp breaker. There's fuses down here, but shouldn't have to mess with any of that, but it's all here if something isn't going right. So this over here is the propane and carbon monoxide sensor. It'll actually sense a propane leak in the unit too and can sound off. A lot of times it will start false alarming if you're cooking on the stove, so just be aware of that. Here's your heater and air condition. Right now we're on heat, so this runs on propane. You can also use AC, flip it over to cool, or just fan. It does need either to be plugged in at a campground or you need to be on the generator to use the AC. Heater runs off propane, you can use that anytime. So some other features, these chairs will turn around. There's this knob here you can flip and it'll rotate the chairs all the way around. You have to pull them up to do that. There's a table leg right here. This goes in here to use this table. So these can turn around, you can use this table. This is a screen for the front window. So if you want privacy when you're campground at night, you can put this on the front window. There's also sleeping up here. Here's the ladder, just clips in here. It's extra bedding. We've got flashlights over here, another flashlight, charger for the walkie-talkies, and over here this converts into a bed. So here's a screw under here, unscrew this, pull this down, this comes out, goes under here, and then this cushion up here fits right in here, and you've got a bed for smaller people and kids. It works great. This bed up here is a little bit bigger. So we got storage up here, some RV essentials over there. Missing something, lots of storage, more storage. Got towels in here. These are little sealers for if you're camping somewhere cold. These can be pushed up in here and it'll keep everything nice and insulated. And in the summer it keeps it cooler. So there's one for that one, and in the bathroom. Got towels, extra sheets, drawers down here for clothing, drawers up here, queen size bed with mattress topper and aftermarket mattress, so it's pretty comfortable. And then I'll show you how to fold the mattress up for putting the slide back. So when you're going to put the slide back, the bed has to be pulled up. So go ahead and do that. So we usually just fold everything up. And then this mattress folds in half. But you want to make sure everything is out of the way and this is even. And then this needs to be pushed in. The mattress has to be all the way in, or else it'll slide and hit the wall. You can see it hits the wall. So there's a slide in button here also. There's another button in here for retracting it. Just make sure there's nothing back here that's in the way, especially when putting it out, or back here. Make sure this is all clear. So go ahead and retract it. It's real important when you're extending it out that nothing gets caught behind here around the edges, so just kind of watch everything, especially behind there. And then you want to pick this curtain up, put it on top. And you'll hear it when it's about all the way in. Alright, there it goes. So now we're all the way retracted. So this is diesel only. Again, so it does use diesel emission fluid or DEF fluid, so the release for the hood is here. If you're doing a long trip and you need to add DEF fluid, which usually it would take a trip over 1,000 miles to need to, but let's put in right here. This is DEF fluid only. You can just top it up. We fill it all the way up before every trip, so it shouldn't usually need to be refilled unless it's a really long trip. we check all the fluids, windshield washer, oil, air filters, everything's done before any trip. But the only thing you might need is depth fluid. So that's right there. And one other thing, if you want to lock it to go out, you can just lock this. But make sure if you're leaving that this isn't just turned a little bit, because if it is a little towards locked, it will lock. So make sure it's fully open if you don't want it to lock.